We need to plan. As you see, these vegetables are supposed to be healthy. And when they are healthy, it's like you when you are feeding your kids. Those kids which are not fed well, they will succumb to different diseases and pests. So you have to prevent them from getting affected than curing them. Because when it comes to curing, that's when you will bring even those synthetic chemicals. But as I told you right from the beginning, you have to plan. Like, should I say we start with the soil which we are going to use? And we usually call it media because it is composed of 3 material. I would have said that someone to start would have looked for the black soil because generally we know that black soil have nutrients. Then secondly, you would have looked for manure. I feel and I stress this, that whoever grow vegetables around home, they should be with manure. Either you go and look for manure which has decomposed, or you decompose yours at using the whatever you have around you. So when that one has decomposed, you can use it as manure. And thirdly, that being that these plants are planted in a place which is restricted, you have to allow drainage during watering. So in that media you have to mix, we call it olusenyente, charcoal dust. As I told you, we plan. When we are mixing those 3, it has to be in a ratio of 3, 1, and 1. Let us assume that you are using a wheelbarrow. If you are using a wheelbarrow, bring 3 parts of wheelbarrow, put 1 part of manure and 1 part of charcoal dust in the soil, and you mix it thoroughly. After mixing it, then you fill the gardens which you are seeing here. Unless you are just making a raised bed, there it doesn't matter. You just fill manure because there is enough soil and enough space. But if you use gardens like a tire, like those sacks, like this food tower, like the cake, you have to mix the 3, such that there is enough nutrients for the plant, and at the same time, that water has to drain away. Let us not say that the best vegetable, what I have not told you, when you are planning for this, for urban farming, you have to look for the quality of a seed or a seedling. Because remember that you are going to plant very few. You have to maximize the profit. So when it is a tomato, don't just go around and just uproot whatever tomato you see. Go for a tomato which is, you feel that it can yield well. There are some tomatoes which even climb. We call them indeterminate what? Tomatoes. As you pluck out, others are coming. Those crops are the best. Even when you go for eggplants, I mean a plant which you can't just plant and you harvest once at a go. It would have been better that you look for a seedling which will keep on producing, which is semi-perennial, I should say. like entula, like eggplants, like tomatoes. But we also know that from the basis of our science, we need nutrients. There are some vegetables which have been growing all the time and they mature in 1 month. You can even go for that, like a nakati, buga, and a jovio. But even you have crops like skuma wiki. Those are the leafy vegetables which are exotic, like spinach, such that when you pluck some leaves below, others will keep on growing. So go in for that. And that's why you see that when you look in our garden, we have a lot of spring onions. You know how spring onions are so nice in our wombo, in boiled meat. And when we are harvesting them, you just take one, then others come in cluster. So go in for the quality of a seedling, which will keep on yielding time after time. It doesn't require an expert, but it requires someone who has been trained. Even if I train you, you can also go and do it. There is when we need labor. Like such a structure, I have to call boys and they do something like that. I can't climb up to that level. It depends which structure you are doing. But even that one which is down like the other food tower, it requires someone with energy because you have to mix the other three and then nail those poles and then put there the wire mesh, which requires someone like a man. So you have to invest in for that little labor. But other material, I should say they are more available at home. And even it helps us to clean our place. When you see that bags are thrown somewhere, I think you have seen how I feed them with the other media, and I plant onions. And anybody at home can take that responsibility of looking every after a garden. Usually when you are starting urban farming, you have to think of that cost benefit. What am I putting on and what I'm putting? If you happen to get someone who is too much what, it is costing you. But I would say, for example, you can come here once and you get that briefing. Like when we are starting this, you have to make sure that you follow all the agronomical practices. Should I say agricultural practices? It's like when you get a baby, when you are in a hospital, and they tell you that at this level, you have to feed like this. At this level, you have to immunize this. That's what is supposed to be happening on our crops. So right from planting, as I told you, if it is a bed, as you see, to every hole, put there a handful of manure. And you make a background of it. After that, if it is a tomato like this one, it is supposed to be staked. When you leave it on the ground, yes, it will fruit. But during weeding, you will just keep on stepping on them. And I think when you are looking at this bed, you see that here, the length, the width, it is short, such that at my working on it, I don't step inside. But when you make it so wide, it will mean that whoever is having, you will make many lines, and the time will come when you will step in. And the moment you step in that soil, you are interfering with the root movement. So the agronomical practices are supposed to be. What I mean with other agronomical, you have to maintain the plant spacing. Here you are seeing that this is my tomato. In a garden, I can space it at 60 by 60 centimeter. But when it comes here, I reduced it to 45 centimeter, such that I will manage it well and I will maximize, I will plant more plants in that small plot of land. But when you reduce on the spacing, it means that you will get more plants in an area. But if you have more plants and you don't maintain them, how do I mean by maintaining? It is staking them, mulching the soil, watering at that moisture content when you feel, when you don't give it too much water. And you have to keep on seeing that every time my soil is moisture. Because this land is very small, you have to put a lot of emphasis on it. You monitor it every day, every evening, every what. You have to control pests and diseases. Because remember, this garden is in my home, where I'm not a bit suffocated with what? With these synthetic chemicals, like a rocket fungicide and what. So the basis of putting manure is that when it is coming, it comes with that vigor to fight the outside environment. Then when the vigor comes, at home there are so many things which we can do, which we can concoct, and we come with those, should I say, pesticide, which can be used. Generally, they are not all that they are pesticide, but they have nutrients in them. Suppose you have urine at home, you can add there ash. Ash has urea, which is nitrogen. You can add there tobacco, that smell. So when you concoct different things, you keep them somewhere and they break themselves, to bring things like ammonia, things like what, which can work as pesticide on this what, on our crops. But even at the same time, as you moved around, you saw that we introduced a lot of onions on them. Because that onion, the smell of the onion repels away some of the insects. So much as you are doing all that, you are protecting them. But however much, as you know, however much we sleep in a mosquito net, at least one time you can get a bite of a what? Of a mosquito. So that's what I mean, that if you have your chemical somewhere, let it be once in a while. But when you use them, make sure that you harvest like after a month. I mean after 70 days. After what? After harvesting. It doesn't mean that when I spray today, the following day I will come and harvest my tomatoes. No. Make them stay there for some time, such that that chemical can move away, I should say. Like these aphids, like the white fly, when they come, this smell, it repels it away and they move away. This is a raised bed, as you see. Here, we just wanted it to be smart in our compound. Otherwise, we wouldn't have put this timber. These are three chirundu, which worked on this. Because this one is long and this one, and we cut the other one. We are making this one long. It depends on how much land you have. But where you have to limit, it is from the width from here to there. It is usually 4 feet, such that you can work at ease. If there is a weed here, you can just stand and uproot. And you go there and you work. Even if it is staking, there is no need of stepping in it. Because when you will make it very compact. So the cost of here Already we had the soil around which we raised and protect it by so the expense goes on these woods only and a bucket of manure. Because I told you that at planting, we just use a handful. Are these 2 hands or 1? I usually mistake. It is supposed to be like this. And you put per hole.